Welcome to biology classes. We were discussing the structure of a cell, in which we have already discussed about the endomembrane system, that is consisting of endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, lysosome and vacuole. And we have also discussed about a non-membranous organelle, that is the ribosome, present in eukaryotic cell. Today we have to discuss about two very special organelles. These are called as semi-autonomous organelles. Autonomous means when you are independent, when something is independent, then it is called as autonomous. Semi-autonomous, that means it is partially independent. So these organelles, they are partially independent. Now any organelle inside within the cell is dependent on the chromosomes present in nucleus. The DNA controls the origin, function, replication of all the organelles. But in the cell there are two organelles, that is the mitochondria and the plastids, which are semi-autonomous. That means they are partially controlled by the nucleus and they have their own DNA, their own components, with the help of which they can prepare their own proteins, because of which we call them semi-autonomous organelles. We'll discuss about both the organelles separately. First of all, let us discuss about mitochondria. So mitochondria, they are cylindrical or sausage shaped organelles, and their distribution in the cell depends on the physiological activity of the cell. If the cell is physiologically very active, requires more energy, then it will have more mitochondria. Comparatively, if the cell is unspecialized and requires less amount of energy, then it will have less number of mitochondria. The size of the mitochondria also varies a lot, but on an average it has a diameter of 0.2 to 1 micrometer and a length of 1 to 4 micrometer. That means it is quite a large organelle. Now if we look at its structure, then it has two membranes, that is the outer membrane and an inner membrane. This divides the fluid present inside the mitochondria into two compartments, two aqueous compartments, that is the outer compartment, which is between the inner membrane and outer membrane, and an inner compartment that is surrounded by the inner membrane. The inner compartment is also called as matrix. Now if we look at the structure of mitochondria, then the outermost membrane, it is quite smooth, but it has many pores, because of which the membrane is porous and allows many things to get inside the mitochondria, inside the organelle. That's why it is called as permeable. So the outermost membrane is permeable, but the inner membrane, it is thrown into many infoldings and is selectively permeable. It will not allow all the things to get inside the matrix. Rather it is selectively permeable and select some of the substances that can go inside, and it will stop many things, many materials to get inside the matrix. Now most of the enzymes that is required for cellular respiration is found in this inner membrane. To increase its surface area, it is thrown into many infoldings so that respiration gets more surface. The cellular respiration can occur in quite a large area. Now they also have special particles, somewhat racket shaped particles, which are called as oxysomes or F0, F1 particles. These are also called as ATP synthase, because they are capable of synthesizing ATP from ADP. So all the energy that is released during the cellular respiration is utilized to form ATP from ADP with the help of oxysomes, the particles that is present on the infoldings or on the cristae of inner membrane. Now the matrix, that is a fluid which is present inside the inner membrane, it has a circular DNA which controls the production of many proteins and the division of this organelle. This organelle can divide by its own. It is not under the control of nuclear DNA, and it divides by fission. You have heard about binary fission. So fission is just splitting into two. So these organelles can split into two or more, so and reproduce themselves. They also have RNA and 70S type of ribosome, the ribosome that is seen in case of prokaryotes, that is present in mitochondria also. And they also have all the components that is required for the synthesis of protein, and they can synthesize many proteins that they require. Most of the proteins are provided by the nuclear DNA, but they also can produce their own proteins. That's why these are called as semi-autonomous organelles. They can produce their protein, they can divide themselves. Because of this, they are called as semi-autonomous organelles. Now coming to plastids, these are found in all plant cells and in euglenoids, absent in animal cells. These are easily observed under microscope as they are quite large. Plastids are the second largest cell organelle. The largest organelle is nucleus, then plastid, and then comes mitochondria. So mitochondria is the third largest organelle. Now coming to the size of plastid, they have a diameter of 5 to 10 micrometer and a thickness of 2 to 4 micrometer. Their number can vary in different cells, like in case of Chlamydomonas, Chlorella, they are found as a single unit. But in case of mesophyll cells of higher plants, they can range from 20 to 40 chloroplasts per cell. Based on the type of pigments, plastids can be classified into leucoplast, which has no pigment, gives no color. Then chromoplast, giving various colors but not associated with photosynthesis. And chloroplast, which gives green color and is associated with photosynthesis. Now coming to leucoplast, these are colorless plastids, and depending on various types of nutrients stored in them, they can be amyloplast, which store carbohydrate, as in case of rice grain or potato. They are called ileoplast when they store oils and fats, as in case of tuberose, and aleuroplast when they store protein, as in case of aileron layer formed in maize seeds. Coming to chromoplast, these contain fat soluble carotenoid pigments like carotene, xanthophyll and others, and they impart various colors to the flowers and the fruits. Now colorful flowers like the petals, variously colored petals, are due to different kinds of chromoplasts, like the petals of rose, lily, hibiscus. They are all variously colored because of the presence of chromoplast, and this helps in attracting insects and other organisms for pollination. Similarly, the colored fruits like brinjal and other variously like carrot, these variously colored fruits attract various birds and other organisms and help in dispersing or putting the seeds away from the plant to various other places, so that new plants can arise in new regions. Since the chromoplasts, they are rich in carotenoids, in plastids we are going to discuss in detail about the structure of chloroplast. chloroplasts, they have chlorophyll and gives green color to the plants. These are mainly found in mesophyll cells of the higher plants' leaves. These are lens-shaped, oval, spherical, discoid or ribbon-like organelle having variable length ranging from 5 to 10 micrometer and a width of 2 to 4 micrometer. Like mitochondria, chloroplasts, they are also double membrane bound. Both the membranes are smooth and both are porous and permeable, but the inner membrane is less permeable as compared to the outer membrane. Between the two membranes there is a space which is called as intermembrane space. The space bound by the inner membrane is called as stroma, and it has flattened membranous sacs which are called as thylakoids. Now these thylakoids, they arrange one over the other like the pile of coins, and then they are called as granum. Many granum are called as grana. So many grana are scattered in the stroma, and there are also flat membranous tubules called the stroma lamellae which connect the thylakoids of different grana. The membrane of the thylakoid also has a space. Now this space is called as lumen. The thylakoid membrane possesses chlorophyll A, B, carotenoids and various other chemicals or enzymes that are required for photosynthesis. They trap the light energy. The thylakoids form grana, and the grana are like antennae that can trap light energy for photosynthesis. Now if we look at the stroma of a chloroplast, then it has its own genetic machinery, that is, it has a circular DNA, it has various types of RNA and ribosomes. The ribosome present in stroma is 70S type, similar to those of prokaryotes. This machinery, genetic machinery, helps them to replicate themselves. They can produce their own proteins. Stroma also has various enzymes that is required for photosynthesis. The dark reaction of photosynthesis takes place in the stroma, and it also has ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase, which is the most abundant protein in the living world. If we look at the major functions of chloroplasts, then we know that chloroplasts, they are required for photosynthesis, and these are able to convert solar energy into chemical energy, and it is because of the photosynthesis carried out by the chloroplast that major amount of carbon dioxide is absorbed and there is replenishment of oxygen in the atmosphere. They also store some amount of starch, either temporarily or permanently. Now that was all about mitochondria and chloroplast. Now if we compare the similarities of mitochondria and chloroplast, then we see that both these organelles can replicate themselves, so they arise from pre-existing organelles. They are both present in eukaryotes and absent in prokaryotes. They both have a double membrane covering. Outer membrane is permeable, inner membrane is either less permeable or selectively permeable. They both have autonomy, that is, they are semi-autonomous organelles. They have their own DNA, RNA and ribosome. The ribosome present in them is 70S type, and the DNA present is circular and quite like the prokaryotic DNA. So these are the similarities that you can draw between mitochondria and chloroplast.